Here's a new video on how to make the best clam chowder in the world. I wanted to make a new one to show you a better video of it. First, you're going to want to get all your ingredients together. I like using the center celery stalks because they have the leaves. You're going to want 2 whole carrots, 4 medium-sized golden potatoes, 1 medium-sized onion, it could be white or yellow, 5 strips of bacon, chicken bouillon, you're only going to want 1 cube, a stick of butter, you're going to want 1 can of fancy baby clams, and 4 cans of chopped clams. A quart of heavy whipping cream. You're going to need a half a cup of milk. You're going to want 2 tablespoons of dill, 4 tablespoons of granulated garlic because I didn't have fresh garlic, 1 tablespoon of fresh ground pepper, or 1.5 tablespoons of just pre-ground pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, and about 5 sprigs of fresh thyme. You're going to want a measuring cup, and of course a big pot. You're going to want to start out by peeling your carrots. And then you want to chop off just the tips of both the ends. I like cutting mine in half, and then I cut them in quarters, so they're all the same size, little cubes. You don't have any uneven sized pieces of carrots. It makes it easier for them to cook evenly. So you just want to chop them up into little teeny pieces. I'm going to do the other carrot, and I will be back. Next, you want to start chopping up your celery. I just take off the ends. Make sure you pre-wash it. And since the center stalks are so small, you don't really need to dice them that much. And make sure you keep all the leaves, because that's the part that holds the most flavor of the celery. That's what my grandpa told me anyways. Which he's totally right. After you're done chopping up your celery, you just want to add it in with your carrots. And next we're going to do our onion. You're going to want to cut off the end that is not hairy, because it helps when you're chopping the onion, it helps keep the onion together so it's not sliding all over the place and chunks are flying everywhere. So you just chop it vertically and then you chop it sideways, and it helps keep pretty even size pieces, but I always just do a little finish chop anyways. And then after you do that, you just add it with your other veggies. And then next you want to get your bowl and fill it up with water so you can start doing your potatoes. Because when you peel your potatoes and chop them up, you're going to want to put them into the water so they won't turn pink. So I've peeled this potato and I just want to cut it like 5 or 6 times because I want really small chunks. So I cut them vertically and then I just cube them up and put them into the water. And you're going to want to do this with all of your potatoes and keep them into the water until it's time to add them to the clam chowder later. You're going to take your bowl of veggies and your potatoes and set them to the side. Next, you want to grab your little sprigs of thyme and just pluck off the little leaves. I like to mince my little leaves because I love the taste of thyme, but I really don't like taking a big bite of a bunch of leaves at a time. Next, you want to get your 5 strips of bacon, cut them down the middle vertically so you don't have such big pieces of bacon, and then you're just gonna dice your bacon. It really helps to have a nice good sharp knife to cut raw bacon because it's slippery and it sucks to cut if you have a dull knife. Now you're going to get your measuring cup to render all of the juice from the canned clams. So you're just going to open each can of clams and you're going to strain the juice into your measuring cup or a bowl or anything that you have. Put the clams in a bowl, juice in the cup, then you have your veggies, potatoes, your bacon, all your spices ready. I like mixing all my spices with my veggies. So then when it comes time to cook them, you just dump the whole bowl in. I forgot to video it, but I put my cube of chicken bouillon in there. Now you're going to want your pan preheated because if you add raw bacon to a cold pan and it starts to heat with the pan, it gets all mushy and watery and not what you want. And then I add a stick of butter. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how I make my clam chowder. I don't know if it helps affect the taste, but that's how I do it. But I just like to cook it down until there's no more dairy left in the butter. It's pretty much just oil and bacon grease left. So you're just going to let that cook down until the bacon gets like a little bit brown on the edges, but not crispy. Once the bacon got a little bit brown, you add the clams, and you're going to want to cook that down till a lot of the juices have absorbed or evaporated, but not all of them. And when it gets perfectly like that, as you can see, there's still some juices. You're going to want to add your veggies and spices. And you're going to want to cook those down until the onions are translucent in color and they've soaked up all those good juices. Once that's happened, you're going to want to add your clam juice. So once your mixture is all cooked down and the onions are translucent, you're going to want to add your strained potatoes and just mix them around. It helps to mix them around before you add any fluid so you don't have fluid sloshing everywhere. Then you add all of your clam juice and you add your quart of heavy whipping cream. And then on the side, you're going to make a mixture of a half a cup of milk and a half a cup of flour and add it to your clam chowder, stirring while you add it so the flour doesn't clump up in the clam chowder. I know a lot of people like to make a roux with their bacon grease, but I do it this way. It works great, and I don't have to worry about the flour sticking to the pot too early.
I just wanted to add
so
that this
after
is
it's cooked a little bit, it's gonna look like this.
not one of those soups you want to
look delicious, but it's not done yet.
You
but you don't want to walk away from
every
it.
5 minutes
You're gonna
or
want to
so,
watch it and stir it about every 5 minutes. Otherwise, it'll stick to the pan.
To make sure the potatoes get
it'll
done
start to
and
burn
nice
really
and thick,
fast.
So you don't want to wait forever.
And there's nothing
for it to
worse than burnt
so
clam chowder.
Make sure that you
it
stir
tastes
it
awful.
every
So definitely make sure you keep stirring,
it'll stick to the bottom
because
and
you
burn.
want it on a medium-high heat to get it nice and thick and cook all those veggies.
So I just wanted to
just make sure you
do that
keep
as a
stirring.
friendly reminder. So we're coming back,
that it's been cooking for about 20 minutes. You want to check your potatoes and see that they're tender. And as long as they're tender, then your clam chowder is done. When it's done, you just want to turn off the heat and let it sit for 10-15 minutes because you don't want to burn
So what I'm going to do
really, really bad.
is turn
I've
this
done that
off,
before, and it also helps it thicken up a little bit more. If you think it's too thin, it's not. Just let it sit, and it will thicken up as it cools down.
While it sits, it will also thicken more. You don't have to add more flour. Don't be worried, because it will thicken up when it cools. And when we come back, I will show you how I plate mine.
And this is my play on a little teeny tiny bread bowl type style. I just cut the ends off of a roll, like a sourdough roll, and I make little tiny bread bowls with them. You, of course, don't have to do this. You could just serve it in a bowl with some bread. But thank you so much for watching my second tutorial. Bye.